This is America's Mayor Live, and we're coming to you from White Plains, New York, just a few miles north of the New York City line, a few miles being about 15. And we want to begin by telling you that, as far as we can tell, the situation in Iran had a day of no, I don't even want to say extensive conflict. There's no reported conflict on either side. No attacks by Iran on either U.S. facilities, or which they more often do, on their Arab neighbors. No attacks by the United States in retaliation or for other reasons. If there were, they were obviously not reported and were not, I don't want to say this, but apparently not of great significance. So in that sense, that ceasefire is holding, and the president is, as he has been throughout, optimistic about it. The Iranians are not. They continue to raise any number of obstacles that would make even a temporary settlement impossible. On the other hand, the ceasefire, if you can call it that, in Lebanon doesn't really seem to exist, except for a very small degree. You remember yesterday, the president spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu. We'll get into what was said or not said in a moment, but the end result was the president put out and then he spoke to Hezbollah, or somebody did on his behalf, and the agreement was that Israel would withdraw troops. Israel would no longer fire on Hezbollah. Hezbollah would no longer fire on Israel. And therefore, this would meet the demand of Iran that the fighting in Lebanon has to stop before Iran will sit down and talk with the United States or anybody else. Now, there are other demands, but this was the most current one. And I'm not absolutely certain, or I shouldn't say I'm not absolutely certain. There are conflicting reports of exactly what's entailed in that demand. One is that Iran could be saying that fighting has to stop. The other, Iran has also said that Israel has to withdraw from Lebanon before they talk. So I don't know which it is. But right now, it doesn't seem to matter all that much, because within hours of the president announcing this, and early this morning, their time, Hezbollah attacked northern Israel, as well as an IDF installation in southern Lebanon. They shot a number of missiles and sent a number of drones. I don't know if they did any damage. If they did, it wasn't appreciable. Israel, of course, did not just absorb that. And what they did was they pounded the hell out of them in two different places. They took out two of their offensive missile installations, and they killed another large number of Hezbollah troops, whatever you want to call them, terrorists, in southern Lebanon, including another high-ranking commander. Is he the highest-ranking commander? We don't know, and there may not be a highest-ranking commander any longer. Israel, in the last two and a half weeks, has eliminated both the one that had been the highest-ranking commander, and the guy that replaced him got eliminated the next day. So this morning they eliminated another one, and they also wiped out a good deal of Hezbollah's infrastructure. Their attacks were on target and lethal. The Hezbollah attacks were the typical attacks for the benefit of the newspapers that do some occasional damage, unfortunately, but don't really do very, very much. So I don't know what to make of this ceasefire in Lebanon, except there were observations that Israel did move some IDF troops further south, not out of Lebanon, maybe back to the original area they were securing in Lebanon, which they have since expanded. But there's no indication they're leaving Lebanon. So we'll have to see how this affects the demands of the very, very demanding Iranian regime of terror and terrorists who want conditions satisfied before they'll even talk. Hell of a thing for terrorists to be demanding, don't you think? But in any event, that's where we are right now. Not much further development there. The president has withdrawn the fund that was going to be provided to people who suffered from, let's call it, Biden lawfare, or I guess any lawfare. Now, that doesn't withdraw the entire settlement of the case. I don't know if you have the Attorney General speaking on this, but when this was, the Republican senators putting a tremendous amount of pressure on the president over a number of things, and I really think it's this is like in nursery school. This is a nursery school get out of my playpen argument, because I think this is really retaliation for his having supported Ken Paxton, who was exceedingly loyal to him, exceedingly loyal to what we believe in as Trump, what we want to call ourselves MAGA Republicans, we sure can, and was, I can tell you, as Trump's lawyer at the time, one of the people I could count on the most in his loyalty to the cause of seeking justice in America. Cornyn was nothing like that. Cornyn was one of the first to run on January 6th on the pretext that it was some kind of a MAGA riot of some kind or other, not being willing to listen. Now, I did have the benefit of a 45-minute tape that made it clear that Antifa was the antagonist behind the whole thing, as they are right now, the antagonist in New Jersey. As I pointed out on my earlier show, one of the people who arrested is from Portland, Oregon. Most of the people arrested are not from New Jersey. They all have, they are equipped with sophisticated, expensive equipment. This is a paid-for attempt to create a riot and to create another Minneapolis in New Jersey, assisted by Governor cheating cadet Sherrill. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, this lawfare thing is not exactly what I mean. First, it's played as the president withdraws the whole settlement, the whole fund, to satisfy the Republican ninnies. And there's, I mean, the fund, I don't know why they did it this way. I'm going to tell you why. There's a way to accomplish the lawfare situation that's right in the 26 United States Code 7431. And it authorizes, it governs civil damages for unauthorized disclosure of tax returns. And then there's another statute that allows the Attorney General to settle claims against the United States. And massive funds are allocated for that purpose. That's what should have been used for people with claims of being, of having their constitutional rights trampled by the United States government. And the Attorney General could have, because there would be a large number of cases, not the usual, 4 or 5, could have set up a process for short-circuiting those cases so it doesn't cost all the money that you could give to people to compensate them and help them and assist them for the damage done to them. They're just using it on legal fees. So the Attorney General could have organized this themselves. And I do think we have to fault the Justice Department a little bit for not telling the president that. When the president said, I want to, here's what happened. The president brought a suit against the IRS for numerous violations of his rights. The IRS decided it would settle that case. And that is under 26 USC 7431. And that is particularly civil damages for unauthorized disclosure of tax returns, which is one of the things they did to him. So that settlement, he took the dollar amount of that settlement, and he said, I'm not going to take it from myself, but I'm going to put it into a fund, and the Justice Department can oversee that fund, and it can compensate the people who were harmed by lawfare or various applications of lawfare. What does that mean? Let me get specific about me. So I was invaded three times. My rights were violated, grossly violated 3 times. The first time was sometime after I became Donald Trump's lawyer. The FBI went and got my iCloud account. Now, they apparently, I am told, did an affidavit from a judge that there was probable cause that I had committed a crime, and therefore they could look at everything on my cell phone while I was Trump's lawyer. Now, I can't imagine what that would, what that, no one has ever told me any suggestion of what that crime was other than being Trump's lawyer. And it's suspicious that it, after all these years of being a lawyer and not being suspected of any crimes, this would be done. But in any event, they did it. Then several years later, after Biden was in power and able to just trample the Constitution, which he did to many, many people, not just me, and some worse than me, but I can tell you mine. One morning at 6 o'clock, 11 FBI agents came into my apartment and ransacked it and took all my electronics. They also went to my law office and ripped it apart and destroyed my law practice and my security business, which was worth millions and millions of dollars. Who the hell's going to do business with a lawyer and a security expert who gets raided by Biden? And generally, the Justice Department just never, ever raids a lawyer's office. I mean, they don't raid mafia lawyers' offices. They don't raid terrorist lawyers' office. They don't raid lawyers who have committed all kinds of horrible. I don't raid their offices because lawyers have other clients other than whatever the subject of your investigation is. They jeopardized all their rights, and they financially did tremendous damage to me professionally. Okay, that's what happened to me. Now, you should understand that a year plus later, the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, who did all this, wrote a letter at the request and at the urging of my attorney, Robert Costello, wrote a letter to the grand jury saying there was no probable cause to believe, to present to them that Rudolph Giuliani committed a crime. So I want to know really simply, here's the question. I think you can get it. What happened to the probable cause? It existed 2 years ago. It existed 4 years ago. Enough so that you were justified in violating my Fourth Amendment rights and also my rights as an attorney and my client's rights, because it is privilege, not just mine, and all my clients. Well, I can't get that affidavit or affidavits. I have put in numerous requests for it. I have 2 different lawyers going after it. I can't get it from the present Justice Department or the present FBI. I don't know what's in it, but I want it because I want to show that they violated my rights. And then I want to sue them to be compensated for what they did to me. It has nothing to do with his fund. And under prevailing law, if I bring that lawsuit, the Justice Department can settle that lawsuit. Now, if thousands of us bring lawsuits like that, and there are, I'm not exaggerating if I say there are thousands of us that can bring lawsuits like that, some more meritorious or of greater value than mine, some of lesser. I'm probably in the top 10%, but I'm not number one. all those cases are going to be brought. It is not unusual. I did this in the Justice Department. I did it as mayor. You lump them together and you try to settle them in mass with some kind of formula. Now, that is a perfectly sensible thing for the government to do, which the government has every power to do. And when the president presented it this way, I who spent my life in the Justice Department and have very high standards for it, which have all been destroyed, cannot understand why the Justice Department didn't lay this out for him to do it that way, which would be very hard for these ninny senators to attack. Instead, the fund gets created, and the focus they put on it is January 6th. Also, there got to be 800 to 900 justifiable cases by January 6th people. But they pick a very small percentage of January 6th people, very small, who got convicted for actual, what we would say were crimes of violence. Now, let's put them aside for a second. What about the group, like I met 7 or 8 of them this Saturday, who did not commit any violence at all? The papers even say that, the papers on which they were convicted, but spent time in prison. They spent time for trespass, which can't possibly be trespass because there's evidence that the cops let them in and did nothing to stop them. I don't know, if a cop is standing at the door and I walk in and he doesn't stop me, how do I know I'm trespassing in a public building that I'm allowed to go in all the time? Well, you got a lot of people in that category. You got hundreds in that category. It'd be perfectly appropriate, again, for the Justice Department to have taken the reins here and organized an ability to settle those cases, because there could be so many of them. So the president gave him a head start doing that. What the Democrats did was focus on the fact that this money was going to go to people who did violence on January 6th. Well, I mean, it wasn't necessarily going to go to people who did violence on January 6th. The Justice Department may very well have denied their claims. But it was open for them to get it. And somehow the administration got outspun that was what all this was about, just that. And then the Republican senators went along with that, didn't help the president try to clarify it, and attacked him, which I think they did because the president went after one of their own. It didn't go after him, but didn't help them reelect a senator who doesn't believe in the same things the president does. So now the president has dropped the January 6th aspect of this, the lawfare aspect. That's all gone. However, his lawyers are maintaining the part of the settlement that says the Justice Department, the IRS can never audit him. That's going to remain. And the case is going to remain before the same judge in Virginia who has declared the whole thing illegal. So I don't know where that's going.
Right. Well, here is Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche from earlier today.
Mr. Attorney General, I wanted to ask a few questions about the anti-weaponization fund. We know that the department has agreed to pause this effort until at least June 12th. I wanted to ask what your plans were for the fund after June 12th.
So thank you. So look, we're not moving forward with the fund. You're right that there's a date that in the case in the Eastern District of Virginia in June, but we are not moving forward with the fund, period. The reasons for the fund is something that President Trump talked about for a long time, which is the fact that there were a lot of people in this country who had their government weaponized against them. The reasons for the fund, I think, it remain as important as they were before, but we are not moving forward with the fund.
Oh, not moving forward ever?
Correct.
Oh, there's no more fund then?
Well, to the extent there was a fund, and remember, the fund wasn't set up yet. There were no commissioners named. There was no claimants brought anything in front of, there was no claims made yet. So yes, we're not moving forward with the fund.
You and associate.
Can we finish that out? You and your associates?
Yeah. We're restart it.
Okay, all right. In any event, it doesn't answer my question, which is why didn't they use the provisions of the United States Code that, first of all, allow for the settlement of tax cases with worthy opponents and who bring cases that the department wants to settle, and then not use the provisions that exist for the attorney general to settle cases in general, which I can't say often are used in a mass way, but it's not unheard of that mass programs are set up when there are going to be large numbers of claims, of which it's pretty obvious from what we know of what the FBI did in invading people's privacy in general, that they violated the Constitution over and over and again to the detriment of people. The dramatic ones are the arrest of Peter Navarro and putting leg irons on him, the arrest of Steve Bannon. I mean, Comey was arrested. Nobody put leg irons on him. I didn't have any leg irons when I was a prosecutor to put on anybody. Might have been a couple I might have thought of, but I didn't. That was a joke. But so I would like somebody to give a full explanation. I guess what I'm saying is I don't think the president was served well here, Ted. This is a I can see politically why non-lawyers or lawyers who are not, I mean, lawyers are so specialized now. There could be lawyers who wouldn't have the slightest idea how the Justice Department settles something. I mean, most lawyers probably don't know how the Justice Department settles something. But there are certainly available lawyers who do. And somebody should have put this together in a way that was much more defensible and isolated it into the pieces that the pieces that are hard to argue with. Let them go against that. You know, let them go against the Ashley Babbitt family who was killed. Isn't she entitled to compensation?
Right.
Isn't that family? And they killed her in cold blood. Let's replay the whole thing. You want to see it? If I were her lawyer, I'd have to try it in the District of Columbia. How the hell do I know if I could win anything in the District of Columbia? That's like trying it in, well, it's like not trying it in the United States. Let's put it that way. And given the attitude of the present judges, that hasn't changed very much. I mean, if you're an Obama or Biden judge, there are a few exceptions. There are.
Not many.
So when we come back, we're gonna take a look at this. I mean, this is the. What are we looking at? Which tape are we looking at here? This one I'm not as familiar with. Is this the Sullivan tape?
This should be the Babbitt tape.
Oh yes, well yeah. So this is the Sullivan tape.
Sullivan Babbitt.
No, this is Sullivan tape of Babbitt of the post Babbitt shooting, where you get a sense of how many police officers were around, making it completely unnecessary to shoot her. There was an army of police officers within 3 seconds of her. A number of which could have grabbed her and pulled her down instead of blown her brains out. Now, nobody's taking care of her, by the way. You see that door being knocked down? Two guys were knocking that down. One of whom I am told is an identifiable Antifa guy, never identified. Now, why weren't those two guys shot? They're bashing a door down. She's further away. They're closer to the cop. Even if he panicked, which would have been negligent homicide if he shot these guys. These are the guys you would have shot if you were defending yourself, even unnecessarily defending yourself. His shooting is outrageously criminal. A police officer who had a record that stuck. who also got untold amounts of money exceeding $100,000. For what? I don't know. But he was paid money out of a fund of some kind. I mean, and so was McCabe, the lying
Most
FBI
tragic story of that day.
You see those guys? See those guys right there? Never identified. So you see the gun? You see, he's avoiding those two guys, and he's shooting all the way over in the corner to the girl in the corner. He avoids these guys. These are the guys that are banging the door right next to him. These are the ones that have a semi-weapon of some kind. She's a 5'2" woman propped up, who, if she went over the top, would have fallen on her backside or on her face. And there are cops, as you see, within. There she goes. She goes down. Within 10 feet of her are about 10 police officers, right in back of her. They all could have pulled her right down. She was posing no threat to anyone. There's no weapon out.
This is disturbing. We should let folks know. This is the video. It's not.
You see where the cops were? Those same cops could have pulled her down. Now, these cops actually think there's a threat. That guy pulled his weapon out and pointed it toward the guy who shot her. Notice all the help she's getting. There's absolutely nobody giving her any help. Those are trained police officers, and if they don't know how to help somebody that's been shot, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. I still don't see a medic there of any kind. I don't see any attempt to do any kind of medical anything to her. And they're wasting their time. Were they arresting somebody?
No, that's her.
Or is that her? They're carrying it. Jesus, Lord, they might have killed her just carrying it. Well, by this time, I think she was dead.
It's hard to watch and.
Now, we've gone through, as a country, so many murder cases and so many issues where police officers are condemned for shootings with far more justification than that. And this guy not only got off, his identity was protected for months, and then he was given, I don't want to say an amount because I can't tell you. He was given in excess of $100,000. I believe he was given quite a bit more than $100,000. Where did that money come from? And if you don't want to pay any of the people who were victims of lawfare, then get the money back from him, and get the money back from McCabe, and get the money back from Strzok and his mistress, Page, and get the money back from Comey, and get the money back from, we go on and on. The Biden people were doling this money out like, the way they gave money to the terrorists in Iran. So I find this, yes, it could have been done better by the administration. And this is a very big question left in my mind about the Justice Department. Where is it? First of all, this should have been done a year ago, 2 years ago. This fund should have been set up by the Justice Department. Oh, well. Shall we take a break, Ted? And when we come back, we'll take a quick look at New Jersey, what's going on there, and then we'll switch our eyes across the country to a very, very big mayor's race primary that's going on in California. A week before the gubernatorial primary. So it should be quite interesting to see what happens here. So let's take a short break, and we'll be right back with America's Mayor Live. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. Now, we're doing everything we can to, well, I guess the defensive way to look at it is to preserve Western civilization, to preserve America and its traditions and its history of democracy and freedom and the provisions of its Bill of Rights and all the things that made it great. There is no question that on the left, whatever you want to call it, the Democratic Party, the Socialist Party, on the left, they're trying to tear America down and trying to create something else, a top-down government where the government decides everything for you, including, what sex your child should be. That is, we're about as close to being a communist government as you can get without declaring ourselves a communist government when the Democrats have control of this place. And certainly in some of these states, these places are authoritarian operations. And they have no regard for American values. They smash down American statues. They rewrite and ignore American history. They trash American traditions. They trash Western civilization. This new movie about one of the first written masterpieces of Western civilization, Homer's Odyssey, where a girl from Uganda plays Helena Troy. Now, suppose a blonde-headed white woman played Mrs. Obama. How would what would the reaction be? what they're really trying to do, and it's not just that insensitivity, they're trying to trash the staples, the pillars of Western civilization. This is what Karl Marx wanted them to do. This is what communist literature implores them to do. This is what Muhammad wanted them to do, to destroy Western civilization. This is what many, many Christians were killed by Muslims to destroy Western civilization. Christians kill Muslims too. I'm telling you what's going on right now, not what went on 1,000 years ago, where there were atrocities on both sides. No atrocities going on our side now. We're trying to preserve ourselves. Well, you got to get involved in patriotic endeavors. Nothing wrong with patriotism. There are people that are embarrassed of patriotism. How can you be embarrassed of the greatest nation on earth and being part of it? You can be arrogant about it, and you better not be. It places a burden on you, just like I believe as a Catholic and a Christian. The fact that I've been exposed to the teachings of Jesus Christ means that I have a higher burden in terms of what I have to contribute and I have to do, because I know better. Boy, I've been told that a number of times by priests, even cardinals. So here's a small way in which you can do it and make a little money for yourself. Go to stickermule.com/Rudy. There you can get yourself a whole package that takes care of your messaging, that takes care of your advertising, that shows you what to do, that fills your orders for wonderful and beautiful patriotic products. So go to stickermule.com/Rudy now. Look it over. See if it might not be a source of some additional income for you, as you're also doing something really, really good for this country. I mean, every time I hear people shouting USA, USA, and that number grows, I think we're going in the right direction. And they're waving flags, and they have pins on. And so why don't you get in the business of selling it? And in that way, you'll hook up a whole group of people. Could be just a small group, and could just be some walking around money, like someone today mentioned on TV that in California they have this walking around money for election cheating, because they were asking, you think they'll be cheating? And they said, there's been walking around money in California by the Dems forever. So you do that. Go to stickermule.com/Rudy. Also, make your contribution to Tunnel to Towers, huh? I mean, I can't tell you how often I run into people that I help by Tunnel to Towers, and how it warms my heart. And I think about Frank Siller and the Siller family, and about his brother Stephen, who died on September 11. And they do the work of God. Make your $11 a month contribution to them. Okay, why not fill it all out and get Rudy coffee? Because I'm going to tell you the truth. It's really terrific.
Right.
I think people were buying it for a while, just, be nice to me. I can't tell you how many compliments I've gotten about it. And I know coffee, and I'm going to tell you, every once in a while, I had some coffee, one of the places in Europe, and I said, boy, that's almost as good. All the rest, we got Europe beat. So let's take a look at the California elections before it gets too late. Well, it won't get too late for the California elections. Apparently, Friday? Are you sure?
Well,
wait. Which Friday? This one? The next one? The one after?
No need to stay up late tonight, folks.
How do they know? Now, they haven't counted a vote yet. I mean, somebody might end up with 50%. It's all over.
Right.
How do they know? They got an inside word? What did the Dems tell their Pravda organ, the New York Times? Hey, we're cheating tonight. You know something? That could apply to every election. And this is because they're going to count very carefully. This is what the Times said. They're going to count carefully. It's going to take 5 days to count carefully, well, there are 40 million people, 56 million in France, and they counted in 12 hours. 40 million in California, and they counted in 12 days. When it's close, it doesn't always. Why does it not happen when an election is kind of like when there's no reason for cheating? They got to organize this so they can keep Pratt off the ballot. Isn't that the whole idea? But he can't come in second, because if he comes in second, he might beat the mayor who can't fill a fire hydrant. Can you imagine running for re-election after what you did to your people with that fire while you were in Uganda and you forgot to fill the fire hydrants? Karen can't fill the fire hydrants fast. And Newsom was part of that too. Newsom turned down water. Man, I used to say this, and then I way back, and I would feel like, well, you're overstating. I'm not now. They get away with murder. Governor Cheryl, who began her career by getting caught cheating in the Naval Academy, lied about it over and over, was kept out of the Navy for 8 or 9 month probationary period. And then really because the Navy had become woke and frightened and not what the Navy should be, they accepted all these cheats into the Navy because they would have a class. The estimates were half the class was cheating, and then there was a real fear that if they ever did a real investigation, almost everybody in the class cheated, and they'd have nobody. Now, I don't know if that part is true, because that demeans a lot of people who graduated in that class. I can't believe all of them were cheating. But I also have to believe, from everything that I've seen, that it's more than just a number of people like her that they caught. But once you got caught, what is the justification? Plus, she said it happened because she wouldn't turn in her friends. Well, that should be a reason for being dismissed from the academy immediately. You're not allowed to cover up for your friends in the academy, because that could mean death for everybody else if you cover up the misdeeds of a friend. It shows you don't know what it means to be a commander in a military unit if you cover up for your friends. You got to think of the good of the entire unit. You're going to let a lot of people become naval officers who are cheats. Cheryl, cheat yourself. Then she said, no, that really wasn't true. She told them everything she knew, which means she ratted out her friends. So which is it, Cheryl? And then after keeping you out for 7 or 8 months, which is the smartest thing they did, they made you a naval officer and they also made an awful lot of other people, naval officers, which is one of the most disgraceful things the United States Navy ever did. Then you somehow become an undistinguished, crazy, left-wing nut job congresswoman, and now you're even worse as a governor. If we really had justice in this country, when these 2 bums were arrested, one for seriously injuring an ICE officer, and the other for yelling that he's going to kill the ICE officer, his family, and children, you should have been arrested too for helping to instigate the riot, because you laid a whole lying plot out that encouraged this riot. You know this isn't a demonstration for the poor people inside the detention center. A lot of those poor people inside the detention center have raped your citizens. A lot of those people have beaten the hell out of your citizens. A lot of those people have stolen from your citizens, and probably not a single damn one of them has a right to be in this country. Every single one of them has begun their career as Americans by violating our laws, which should be a pretty good reason why we don't want you here, and you're starting off in the wrong direction. But if there once was a group of illegals that came in and they had some kind of decent motivation, that sure wasn't true of the group that Biden invited in. He just opened the doors, and every country could send every bum in that it wanted, every terrorist in that it wanted, every drug dealer that it wanted, and every spy that it wanted. And why do you think these countries wouldn't do that? They're not stupid. They don't govern with an auto pen like we were governed. They govern with very, very shrewd, evil individuals. And they sent a lot of really bad people here. This group of massive invaders is not like other groups of legal, certainly, immigrants or even illegal immigrants. It's a much worse sample of people who are undesirable in the country from which they come. Look at what happened to Minnesota, Minneapolis. The Somalians there are carrying out, at minimum, a $9 billion fraud. These are people coming from a country that is one of the most uncivilized, undeveloped countries on the planet. What do they know how to do? Steal. And what are they doing? Stealing like crazy. Do most of them work? Do they run centers? Yeah, for something, for early learning, but nobody goes to the center. How about this horrible thing of autism, the cheating that's done with autism? Awful lot of kids who deserve help for autism aren't getting it because the money's being stolen. And the programs are so damn corrupt. If the parents get involved in the program, the kid gets more messed up than he is going in. These are horrible things that the Democrats are doing. And I know it's a very, very hard thing to embrace. But this is an evil that's become a political party that, even though many of the people that belong to it, I'm sure, are well-intended people, at the core of this political movement now, it's overwhelmed by evil, the way it was when it was the party of slavery. So it has a history of being an evil political party that takes on things that other legitimate political parties in America wouldn't embrace. And I think the infiltration, going way back to Wilson, of communists and now of Islamic extremist terrorists who like Islamic murderers like Mandani, I think that has really destroyed this party. So now what's going on in California, Ted?
So the polls are open for 2 more hours. I'm kind of searching.
Why don't you speak up just a little?
The polls will close in just a couple of hours.
Wow.
11 p.m. Eastern time. But as New York Times has told us, we don't expect.
In other words, the official organ of the Democrat Socialist Party has said okay,
Not to expect results for days because of their meticulous review process and their heavy reliance on mail-in voting. So that's
now heavy reliance on mail-in votes. You got to understand that most of Europe no longer does mail-in votes because they consider mail-in votes to almost be an unavoidable invitation to cheat. I didn't make that up. That's in the report of Baker and Carter, who kind of withdrew from that when the election of 2020 took place, exercising something that would not give them a chapter in Profiles in Courage. They decided, well, that isn't really quite what they meant. But actually, the reality is, if you go look at it, France doesn't use paper ballots except under very extraordinary and careful circumstances. France counts the vote of 58 million people, reduced by the number who actually vote, the percentage that actually vote. And they count it within 12 hours of the closing of the polls at worst. The last number of elections in France have not had any allegations of cheating. There has been allegations of campaign finance violations. That's a different thing, right? And both sides, and they're heavily contested these elections with the right wing and the left wing and everything else. We don't have the problems with them that we have. Look, there's no reason for it to take more than 24 hours. Absolutely no reason unless you're cheating. Simple. To take days means you're absolutely cheating. You are clearly and absolutely cheating. The temptation is too great. In an election like this, where you got to do everything you can to squeeze out the Republican, poor Mr. Pratt, I wouldn't want to be in his position. Everything is going to be done to try to have the woman who can't fill fire hydrants and the person is even further to a left with a first name that I can't pronounce, to have them come out 1 and 2. So it has to be some form of wacky left-wing criminal-loving Democrat ruining Los Angeles even more, so that it can be ready for the eventual turnover to the one world government, which will be governed by the guy that Newsom seems to really owe his allegiance to, which is Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
Now, we can explain more on that whenever you want.
So the polls are open, a three-way race. They're calling it between Bass, Rahman, and Pratt, with a lot of folks thinking Pratt can get through to the runoff.
Well, I mean, today and yesterday, all I heard was, based on the polls that they were analyzing, that Pratt would definitely come in second. Let's see if that happens. And Bass would be below 50%. The most she's done in any poll is 40. Most of them she's below 40.
Right.
For an incumbent mayor to be in that position is pathetic.
Yeah.
And we'll look at the number. I don't even know if we should look at the number. I have no idea how accurate the numbers are going to be.
Right.
I would think the most accurate numbers, I'm assuming the most accurate numbers, would be the ones that we get tonight, Ted.
Yeah.
You know, it's the ones that come from the ballot boxes. Now, if you go back to the 2020 election, and they say, oh, the machines were fixed and whatever. Machines may have been very well fixed, but Trump would have won the election based on the machines. When they stopped counting the votes, which are votes that came from many of those machines, Biden probably had more votes than he should have, but he was still getting trounced. He was losing every one of the swing states, 6 of them, some by appreciable margins, all of which, when they extended the counting, didn't end until Biden was found to be ahead. The odds of all 6 going that way are ridiculously non-existent. And the reason that it took that long, it took longer in Pennsylvania than any other, it had to make up 700,000 votes. So the objective tonight in California is to keep the guy to my right, your left, off the ballot. On the other side is the guy that will be in that same position next Tuesday night, Steve Hilton, who is a superb candidate. I don't know if you saw the interview that was repeated on Dr. Maria's show last night that Steve did. I'd go back on Lindell TV and get that one. This would be a godsend for California if he became the governor. Yes. Spencer Pratt could straighten out L.A. A mayor can do that. I know. But he can't straighten out an entire state. A governor can. I mean, Schwarzenegger could have. He didn't. This is not Schwarzenegger. This is a man of pure principle who doesn't have Hollywood influencing him.
So, Mayor, what do you think happens in this gubernatorial race? Steve Hilton performing well. Of course, there's another Republican.
Well, it's all so tight. I mean, it's all so tight in the way they do this with 2 out of 7 that even the ability to cheat is, the tighter an election, obviously, the easier it is to cheat. There used to be a day in which elections were too tight. I give you an example. In Florida, the rule of thumb was don't bother if the election's more than 2%. You just can't do it. You can't come up with enough paper ballots to screw around with. The reason why the Democrats want a lot of paper ballots is it expands the scope by which you can cheat. If you only have 200,000 paper ballots and you're behind by 300,000, you can't do it. But you got 2 million or 3 million, maybe you can do it. So we'll have to see. If I were doing predicting based on the election being called accurately, then I would predict that Pratt's going to come in number 2, and that Steve will come in number 2, and have In Pratt's case, a decent chance of overcoming Bass. And in Steve's case, a tougher one, but not impossible. It really depends on who's on the top and what happens. He's a very, very, he's a very, very good candidate, as is the other guy. So good candidates can accomplish a lot that you don't expect. So another reason why they may be trying to destroy them, Ted.
That's exactly right. So again, could be days, could be weeks till we actually know the results. So hang in there with us the next few weeks, and we'll report the results from the Golden State.
The gold, Steve's thing, "Make America Great," is make California golden again. I think that's kind of good.
I like that.
Don't you like that?
Catchy.
At least it has something. I mean, it has something to remember,
Right.
right?
Right. And so I'm just tracking to see if there is any exit polls. One thing there we haven't talked too much about, maybe we can play some clips and react. Our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, appeared before the House and Senate today, where he, of course, defended the president's actions in Iran. Let's see if we, we'll play some of this. You want to play some of Secretary Rubio?
Yeah, and I think what it's shocking that the Republicans are turning on some of the Republicans are turning on Trump. We're going to have to look into. I mean, the obvious explanation is Cornyn and Pratt in the Senate. In the House, I don't know. The fact that the president is nearing lame duck status, which he doesn't have to have given his activism, and these polls that are out there that show, and who knows how accurate those polls are, Ted. I talk to a lot of people, and we really do get around, right? Including Americans in Europe. I don't get the feeling. There are some people that were very strong supporters who have some doubts about the war, have some doubts about this, doubts about that. But I don't get the feeling of very, very strong opposition, like really emotional and strong, and I just don't. And it is true, the media and the Democrats are doing everything they can to create it. They're trying to create the fact that we're losing this war, which is almost impossible to create. I mean, Hezbollah shoots at Israel. It doesn't hit anybody. Israel shoots at Hezbollah and takes them apart and gets rid of their top commander, 2 or 3 of them in 2 weeks. And they're on an equal plane. The Iranians are begging for Israel to get the hell out of Lebanon because they ain't going to have Hezbollah much longer. If they don't have Hezbollah, they're back down just to the IRGC, and we can bomb them out of existence. And then all of a sudden, the MEK can take over. So this is. I just have not been convinced that the elections this November have been decided. I think there's a lot, first of all, to the possibility that the spinning is massive to try to get them in that direction. So you make things appear bad. And second, there's still a lot of room for the president to do a lot of things that just nobody else can do. Because although sometimes he finds the circuitous way of getting there, he almost always gets there.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
And sometimes the fact that he has the circuitous way of getting there is what they use against him. You know, like, who knows what really happened between him and Bibi? Did they really have that conversation yesterday in which the president said,
Right.
F you, you get out of Lebanon. What are you doing? You're screwing things up. Get out right now. Did they really have that conversation? I mean, they've had conversations like that before that they didn't really have. They had a conversation like that before the last time we bombed the shit out of them. Israel was spending too much time in Gaza, and Trump was getting upset, and he yelled at Bibi. And all of a sudden, the next thing we know, Israel invades Iran. And then America decapitates Iran. Or we both decapitate Iran within hours. That was about a day or 2 days before a story about the break between Bibi and Trump. Now, if you can't figure out from that, I mean, I remember seeing articles a couple of months ago in which the Iranians were saying, well, we can't trust this guy because it sounds like he's negotiating. It sounds like he's fighting with Netanyahu, and then he bombs the hell out of us. So, how do we know how do we know that he really wants to negotiate? So let's watch this very, very carefully as to what is going on, what's actually going on here. Today was an unremarkable day on the Iranian side. I don't think we've covered that here. I think we covered that in the earlier show. But it was a day of basically what we can tell, no real fighting, U.S.-Iran. Pretty fierce fighting between the two parties that are part of the ceasefire just recently announced. Within about 4 hours of the ceasefire, in which the president said he spoke to Bibi. Right. The president didn't say, he said all these things. He said Bibi agreed to not attack Hezbollah anymore and to withdraw some troops. Yep. And then he said he spoke to Hezbollah, and Hezbollah agreed not to shoot. Within 2 hours, Hezbollah attacked Israel, civilian targets in Israel. Don't think they hit any, but it was a lot of missiles and a lot of drones, mostly missiles. Then they did a drone attack on a IDF encampment in southern Lebanon, also unsuccessful. And Israel hit them back like it was World War II. Israel wiped out 4 or 5 missile, drone, and radar installations. And then they went after Hezbollah members. Don't know how many they killed. They killed a number of Hezbollah operatives, but they killed another high commander who there is speculation was the successor of the commander-in-chief that they killed 3 days ago, who was the successor of the commander-in-chief they killed about 10 days ago. So, and Bibi has said on his side, hasn't said anything about withdrawing troops, hasn't said anything about not killing them, has said kind of, we will, of course, continue to hit them back anytime they hit us. That leaves a pretty wide open gap. Only thing discernible is that some IDF troops have withdrawn south back to where they were before they expanded things about 10 or 12 days ago. So where that actually is, I don't know. I don't know if we had discussions today. Israel and, believe it or not, Israel and Hezbollah had discussions in Washington as they were shooting and killing each other. Now, exactly what those discussions were about, I don't know. But they were in D.C., and I can't exactly tell you where they were. Before we close out, I want to check and see a few more things we're going to cover, but I just want to check and see anything more on California or any of the other races.
Kalshi is now predicting that Spencer Pratt has a 75% chance of advancing into a.
Who has predicted that?
Kalshi is a prediction market that's being used by a lot of folks.
This is a betting market?
Yep.
Oh.
Well, it's a betting market, but as you know.
Yeah.
But it is hard. Also, the mayor makes a good point that sometimes one person with a lot of money can skew it. At the end.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. What chance does Natupi Raman have?
She's
of being number 2.
Whoever her number is, but Bass has a 93% chance.
Okay, so Bass also has a probably pretty close to 93% chance of being number 1.
Yes. And from this polling, we're trying to sift through a lot of data here to get you the most up-to-date polling, and we're trying to see if we can get somebody on. We have a good friend, but she's tied up with local media and some national media. But we'll try to have her on maybe tomorrow or in the coming days, as we know these.
You mean for the days and weeks that it's going to take to fix the ballot?
Yeah, that's right. So again, little out there on the results at this point, because of the fact that, first of all, the polls don't close until 11 p.m. Eastern time, but also because of their system, we just won't have results for days. So we'll be watching that very closely. Maybe we can get Iowa results. But yeah, we'll be watching that closely, Mayor. And of course, I wonder, will they release any numbers tonight?
Pardon me? Well, I would think they would have to release the numbers from the voting that took place during the day. That would seem to me to be available within hours of. It's only fair to know where we're starting before we do the other ballots, right? So
we'll be watching that and all these other races. It's not as consequential because a lot of the primaries in some of these states were with the Democrat Party in Montana. They're not expected to perform well in November, so it's not as consequential to the national.
So next week we have the gubernatorial primary coming up, right?
Yep.
So that'll be on June 9th.
Yep.
And also on June 9th, we have what has become, I don't think we ever pay much attention to the main primary. But that's gonna get a lot of attention because we have a certified by stamp Nazi running on the ballot, who now turns out to be a serial sexter who was hiding it from his wife. His wife was hiding it from his campaign. A campaign worker, worker gave this information to the New York Times. She has since been fired or left. She was also threatened by the guy who ran Mondami's campaign. This tells you who these people are, right? And what he was a decrepit, sleazy sexter who was sending around all these crazy sex things to people who wanted them, didn't want them, whatever. It's a site called Chat App Kick, K-I-K, and it's used largely for hookups. They don't say whether he had hookups or not, but he was on it very frequently, which just supplemented his Reddit account, which had a couple of 100,000 wacko posts from first wanting to be in the military so he could kill people. So I don't know. I think his military record has to be questioned if the reason for being in the military was to kill people. He then turned, after he came out of the military, very anti-military. He has on his chest, do we have that picture? That's a crest of a Nazi crest that was worn by a lot of the executioners, which would supplement his Reddit text that he is a Jew hater.
Right here.
Has Schumer spoken out on him yet? Has the traitor spoken out on him yet?
I haven't heard from him.
There he is. Seems like he's quite proud of it. Seems like he's quite proud of it, right?
Oh, sorry, no, that's what he did to cover it up.
Oh, he put that over it?
Yeah. It's like a dog or something. I don't even know what it is. It actually doesn't make any sense. It's obvious he's covering something up.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's it before.
original.
There it is. There it is. Yeah.
And then that's what he covered up with.
But when he decided to run.
Decided I maybe want to run for office.
Yeah, well, that really does it, pal. Were you doing that in between your sexting? Now, the wife finally came clean in August. Catch this. Since September, she's been paid 30 grand by the campaign. I don't know. You think there's a connection?
Well, we'll be up there. Maybe we'll be close. As of now, right? Plans can change, but we'll be in the area.
The person who outed him was Genevieve McDonald, and she's the one who was threatened by Morris Katz, who claims to be responsible for Mondani's victory and is extremely close to Mondani. And there was an article saying that he threatened her if she went forward with the sexting allegations, which turn out to be absolutely true. Now, the public shouldn't know that a guy wants to be Senate that creeps around on TikTok or Poop Pop or whatever. Public shouldn't know that because he's a communist or whatever the hell he is. Must be if Mondambi is supporting him. This is getting ridiculous. This is ridiculous that we're even talking about this as a candidate, that the Democrat Party hasn't just thrown him out. They're trying to come up with some Pelosi-like intrigue to get him out like they got out Fang, Wang Wang, Pang Pang. Of course, they got him out because he was going to screw things up and probably put 2 Republicans on the ballot. They didn't get him out because he was screwing a Chinese spy, and with the big mouth that he has, probably telling him everything he knew. Of course, they had a 19-year, very distinguished senator, former mayor of decrepit San Francisco, who had a Chinese spy as a driver for 19 years and also had a damn big mouth. And nobody cares. I do. You do. And we're going to make everybody care because this is our country too. It's not even their country. They don't love it. They don't care about it. They want to tear it down. They want to rip it apart. They want to rip apart the best things about it. We're not going to let them do it. We're here in very large numbers. You can't believe the numbers we're here. And with a lot more dedication and a lot more decency than they have. And that always wins the day. So I'm going to ask you, please, to pray. I always ask you to pray for Iran, and I always ask you to pray for Israel, and I also ask you to pray for Ukraine, because those people are under the gun. And our military that is there with them, who are being aimed at by these people, I mean, lucky they are incompetent, only made competent by the lying press. But in any event, I also want you to, I want you to pray for America and for Americans that are fighting really, really hard to try to preserve our civilization. So it's the world's only hope for the world, really. When you see the people lying in not even so much in the weeds like China and Russia, and then all these people who align with them, and the Islamic extremist threat, which is at the highest level it's been at in a very, I mean, since the early days. It's overwhelming Western Europe. They're not doing a bad job in some of the states in America. We have got to come together and realize the value of our civilization to us, to our children, or our grandchildren, and to others. And prayer is a good way of reminding us of that and driving us in the right direction, because I am absolutely convinced that we're here because the communists prevailed in one of their 3 or 4 main objectives, which is to drive as much as possible God out of the public discussion. God has a very important place in the public discussion. After all, he created us all. And our rights come from him, not from anybody else, not from anywhere else. They come from the Creator. That's what we believe as Americans. You want to be something else? Believe something else. That's a core belief of being an American. And America's about beliefs. So let's pray that people return to God. They seem to be. There are undercurrents that are very, very helpful and that are very, very confidence inspiring. But they are still undercurrents. They haven't overwhelmed the ramparts yet, nor have they. And it requires us to be involved. So get involved. In a lot of ways, school boards, politics, religion. Okay? So we're going to say it all together like a prayer. We say this like a prayer. We're going to pray for our president. We're going to pray that you help him have the wisdom and the fortitude and the determination to make the right decisions. This isn't to suggest that he doesn't. He does. Great president. But a great president because he realizes that too. And we'll see you tomorrow. 7 on Lindell, 8 here on X. America's Mayor Live. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense.